Good. Well, hello there, beautiful woman.
Well, beautiful person who's made this whole thing possible.
Mm, no,
We
you have done it all.
we're a team.
We are
We're
a team, and I couldn't be happier to be on your team.
all righty.
Ah,
Well, we thought we'd talk about the second secret in the book, a lived life, which incidentally isn't just about my life, which could be well lived. It's the person who is reading the book.
mm,
It's their life, which is a well-lived life. So
right.
that's what we're talking about. And we talked about the first part of it when I was talking to all of us before, and that was the reality that each one of us has a special place. We're all here for some special purpose at this special time. And if we can not as we activate that and accept it, life becomes so interesting and so full that the next step is that life has to keep moving. If we stop it, if we get stuck in some place, something that makes it life so frightening or painful or dark or difficult or something that gets in the way of the movement of life, and it can't move, then life stops.
Mm,
So our purpose is to activate that life force within us with love and get it moving so that we continue to live life moment by moment and year by year and so on, so that it's a constantly moving process. So when we think about being stuck, whatever the stuck is, when I was a kid and up until actually a senior in medical school, I thought I had the ugliest hands ever. And I because of that, I would sit on them. My sister had these lovely tapering fingers, and I had these big square hands that I thought, just, nobody needs to, it was a big drama in my mind about what my hands were. But then one day, when I was a senior in medical school, I was watching a senior resident scrub for surgery, and I was looking at her hands, and I thought, Gladys, stop being so silly. Her hands are even bigger than yours, and your hands work. For pity's sakes, stop it. And I did, and I started wearing rings on my fingers in order to keep my mind active about that the hands are working and they're good for what they are. But
mm-hmm.
silly stuff like that we could get stuck with. And I mean, it's when you look back on it, you know, it ain't very smart.
No, and it is interesting what our mind chooses to get stuck on and about.
Yeah.
Because it is often the little things that we just can't let go of, or the things somebody said to us that, for whatever reason, we latch on to, and then we just hang on to that like a grudge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or something, like uh, my nose is funny, or, I mean,
Yeah.
we the whole process of learning to love ourselves the way we are can be a lifelong process.
For sure.
And so as we learn about who we are as individual people, here for individual purpose, doing what our individual purpose, people, person can do, and no
Right.
one else can take that spot, it's a pretty awesome time to be alive.
Yes, it is. So, when somebody finds themselves in a place where they feel stuck, like they don't know what to do with their life, or they're stuck in a situation where they feel trapped and they can't get out of, um, how do you, how would you talk them through that?
Well, it depends what the stuck is, you know. Um, it, First of all, they have to have to get to a point where they realize that they're stuck.
Mm,
If we don't even know that we are, you know, I did this hand thing, which is so stupid now, but back then, it was important to me, and and uh, and yet I was doing all these amazing things with my hands, able to do them. It can be any little thing, but it can even be something that somebody has said, and somebody had said something that you either you heard it and you took it into your heart, and
right.
oh, that hurt my feelings, or something. Like, we can hang on to something like that for years sometimes. They're much more, you think there are things that are much more important than what I'm talking about, but these little things sometimes are the things that catch us. You know, it's like unexpectedly you find yourself doing these things that you either don't like about yourself or don't like about your situation, or you think somebody else did something to you
Right.
which you accepted, or you had an illness that put you in a position that got you stuck, or you found yourself doing something that you look back on and you're ashamed of. I
Mm,
mean, we all go through these processes, and if we really uh, attach ourselves to them, which we can do, we can get stuck, and then life can't really move,
right.
not not to its fullest.
Right. Right. I mean, it's always moving, but it would be like I keep when when I hear you say moving, I'm thinking of a river,
Yeah,
and like we talk about the trickle that goes around the dam.
yeah.
So I feel like we're always in some level of movement, but when we have those places, and I'm thinking of like the unconscious comments that we make in our own head about ourselves or whatever that we don't even know that we're doing, but we're doing it every single day. And so we're stuck in that loop of saying, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or whatever the thing is that we say, is kind of like being in, you used to take your kids floating down the river, didn't you?
Well, my big kids took my little kids to,
Oh, okay. So you never went.
no, well,
That
but
don't
I go floating.
Right. So, sometimes you're in the rapids and sometimes you're in those spots where the river's barely moving.
Right.
And so, but it's still moving, but sometimes it can feel imperceptible. And so that's what I feel like when you're saying you're stuck, because we're always moving to one degree or another, but it's just like so slow that you can't even tell you're moving.
Well, you know, if you're alive, you're moving. Your heart's beating, you're breathing, your fingers are moving. You know, life is going on within your body,
Mm-hmm.
or we realize these amazing structures, which is my body. You know, this amazing thing. My mother was such a great teacher in this aspect. When my sister and I were 90, in our 90s, one day we were talking to each other, and we'd say something, and then we'd just take our hand and just wipe it like this, palm up, and just drop it down and go on with the conversation. And we stopped and we said to each other, why in the world do we do that? And we looked at each other and we said, we don't know. Who did that? And we said, Mama did that. And then we looked at each other and we said, why did she do that? And together we jointly said, oh, Kuch Parwane, which in Hindustani means it doesn't matter. And when we look back on our lives as 90-year-old women who had gone through life using this hand gesture as a way of getting unstuck, because something would happen, somebody would say something, or we would say something, and then we'd get all warped out of sight and take it all in and say, oh, that's stupid. Or we could just say, Kuch Purwane, and let it drop, which is what we had been doing for years. But this mother of mine, a week before she died, and she fell and died when she was 96. But a week before, she and my dad and I were sitting out on the looking into our garden, and she says to my dad, "Look at that petunia bush there. It must have 4,000 blossoms on it." And my dad says, "Oh, Beth, it can't have more than 40." She says, "What's another zero?" And the way she lived her life was to take something and just drop enough humor into it that what's another zero?
Right.
It took her head and just let it go, Kuch Marwane. It's that ability to understand the things that are really important and the things that aren't. And it it can take a lifetime to do that. As we are continuing to live, we learn and we grow and we grow and we live.
Yes, we do. And so going back to the trickle around the dam, how does one, so you recognize that you're stuck in one form or another. And then how do you find that trickle?
Well, sometimes it's just what somebody else says, or you find yourself reading or saying, or all of a sudden you say, or you see somebody like the senior resident doing something with her hands that wake you. If you're looking for it, you find it. It's like the trickle. If you're not looking for that trickle around the dam, you don't see it because it doesn't seem to be moving. But if you're looking for it, you can find it. And the beautiful thing about that is too, when you're looking for it for yourself, you help other people find it for them.
Yeah, I thought of you the other day too, because I was listening to something along that same line of when you are looking for it, you're helping others find it, was when you are the light, when you find the light within yourself and you become the light, you are shining the light for so many others to find the light within themselves. So there's a very, yes, we all want to evolve and change, and it can seem like it's sort of a self-centered way of moving through the world. But if we're moving, knowing that when I find my light, when I find my trickle, when I move to my greatest capacity, I am only going to expand and expand that for others. So it really is quite lovely.
And it puts together the reality that life and love are one unit. So if we accept life within ourselves and within other people as a love, as the outreach, the trickle, the juice of the our whole life. It's the life and love unit that requires life and requires movement. It's it's a dynamic that is so real. And so life needs to move, but it needs to move as love activates that movement. It's like the if you have a sperm and an ovum, it's the union of those that allows life to be real.
Right.
The sperm by itself and the ovum by itself can't do anything, but when they unite, the life and love combination activates. So within other aspects of our whole being, as we learn to love the life around us and within us, and use the energy that is the energy of the universe, which is the whole aspect of life, then we continue to move and life goes on. It's again, the little trickle. It's again the not getting stuck. We're not if you are stuck, when you are stuck, not remaining stuck.
Right.
You know, because it's those little places of shame and other things that get us, and boy, they can stick us really, really for a long time if we let them.
And so do you find, I mean, I think about that, and I think about what I tell my patients, and I am always encouraging people to either find a creative outlet, find a good therapist, find somebody that can help you just expand that. Because I think, when we are stuck, sometimes it's really hard to even know which way to go, or like you said, just recognizing, oh, I am really stuck here. And that can be really, yeah.
Yeah, because then we're looking for the light. Then we're reaching out darkness. Katie,
Uh-oh, your sound is gone.
we've lost John. We lost
Here.
Katie.
I'm here.
Oh, you're back.
Yeah. I'm back. I don't know what happened, but anyway.
Something got lost in the process.
Yeah.
And stuck. See, but we worked through it.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. Well, it's such an interesting thing, and one of the most subtle and difficult aspects of being stuck is some things that we do that we're ashamed of, or that we think we really blew it at that time. Those stuckiness are really subtle and can be mean. Sometimes if you can put some humor into it, it really allows you to move past that. I'm laughing because when just after my 99th birthday party, I was at the grocery store and I was putting my lifting things out of my cart to put in my car. And a gentleman came by, and an elderly gentleman, and he says, "May I help you?" And I said, "Oh, no, I can do this." And he said, he pulls his height up, and he says, "Well, I'm 86. Well, I don't know what that did to me, but it sparked something. And I pulled my shoulders back, and I said, "Well, I'm 99. And I marched off and sat down in my car, and I said, "You nasty old lady. what a horrible thing to do. That nice old man was just reaching out and trying to be kind, and there you are saying, I'm 99. And I got to thinking about it, and I got to laughing. I was like kindergarten kids standing these two old
Right.
folks looking at each other and squaring their shoulders, and I'm one the other one, you
Right.
know. I mean, it was so ridiculous. I could have sat there for a long time saying, oh, should you go in? Should you apologize? Should you, you know, all the shoulds. And I finally decided, no, this is just, it's a kuchburwani. Doesn't matter. But silly little things like that can grab us, and let's just be aware of how ridiculous and funny they can be sometimes.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, I love that story, and it always makes me think about, we are all just 5-year-olds in a sandbox living life. And like, that's what that reminds me of, is like, there you were, you just flipped into this subconscious mode of like, I need to prove myself to this person, you know. And I mean, rightfully so, given what you've been through in your life as being a front runner, as a female in a very, very male patriarchal society. I think you did the right thing there. I think it's pretty funny. I love it.
Yeah. Well, you know, laughter is such a healing thing too. So if we can add laughter to our lives, it really helps to heal our adrenals. You know what, the adrenals are where anger and a lot of the stuck things are the adrenal energy gets stopped. And laughter, if you laugh, the diaphragm, which is right across the top of the adrenals, kind of tickles the adrenals. You know, as you laugh, you tickle your adrenals and activate them so that they can begin to give you some more adrenal energy and give the energy moving again.
That's great.
So if you can find something to laugh about in situations that are kind of, well, that you're stuck in,
Right.
that'll get the trickle started.
And do you think that when you're stuck, one of the ways that shows up is symptomatology in the body?
Oh, absolutely. A lot of people who have adrenal insufficiencies are stuck at the level of the adrenal.
But even things like cancers and, you know, just all kinds of illness, do you believe is manifested from emotional things?
Well, we're all, you know, it's all tied together.
Right.
Not like there isn't an emotional impact when you're sick. There is, you know, there is an emotional thing. It's for people who are expecting themselves to be independent and able to do things and so on, to find themselves in positions where they either can't see or can't hear or can't walk or can't do this, can't do that, can't do the other. It can be really not only humiliating, but it can get us really stuck. And if, on the other hand, if we look for some solutions to help us get through, or not get through, to live through the process, we find that there are ways of moving through areas of stuckness, but we have to be looking for them.
You know, I was having dinner last night with a friend of mine who's 95. And I was telling him about you and telling him about your book, and and he was laughing and he was saying that maybe he needs to get your book so he can see, you know, what he's been doing right or wrong. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you've been doing most of the things. And he was saying that he plays cards with someone, a gentleman who's 104, and they play bridge a couple times a week. And he also he rides his bike. He gets on a indoor recumbent bike, and he rides his bike every single day. So it was just kind of fun, you know, just talking to him about aging into health, and that is exactly what he has done.
Yeah, yeah. He's found some answers.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's beautiful. Beautiful.
Yeah.
So in the trickle, once we find the trickle, hang on, I just want to see something here. How would you, so you're talking about finding the blockage and then looking for the trickle around the dam. So specifically, or can you be specific, what then expands the trickle? Because we wanted to get back into a robust flowing river. So
the trickle ultimately moves the stuckness. If there's a branch that's there, or a twig, or you know, some dirt that's piled up that's caused, something has allowed that stream to get so that it can't really flow. So as it continues, the trickle continues, it washes that away. It moves little by little by little. It's like in reality, what the diaphragm does to the adrenal, it activates it, it moves it, it gets it so that it's moving, and other parts of it are moving. So the body is moving. You know, again, it's this whole process of life has to move. Now, if you get a rock there that's stuck is so hard that a trickle can't get past it, sometimes it takes a bulldozer to move that. But, you know, if you're looking for something to move it, it'll move it. If you're not, it'll keep on trickling until ultimately it moves it itself. It's going to do it at all.
yeah, and then just continuing with that metaphor, which is so beautiful, and that water created the, you know, Grand Canyon. So of course it took a long time to do that, and that's the idea that we are always in movement. Sometimes it can just be a little faster than others, and create the change that we're looking for in a more expedient way.
And when you realize that our bodies are mostly water anyway.
Right.
So as we create stem cells and work with stem cells within our own body, they help to keep the water moving in a way that can actually be a trickle. You know, get that big boulder moving and get you know, if you get a real big aha, and you know, like my senior medical student, senior
Right.
and her hands, I mean, to me, that was a big boulder that was moved.
Yeah. Yes. And so I also want to circle back to the conversation you and I were having before we went live about, you know, just the idea that you doing as many podcasts as you're doing and interviews, and just, you know, this just wow of what your life is doing right now.
Yeah.
Is just such a beautiful way to see that juice that you talk about, just like filling you up in such a way that it's giving you more energy. It's making you enjoy your life even that much more, because you're seeing the fruits of your labor globally.
it's stretching me beyond my farthest imagination. I mean, I would never have realized that we could be, that you and I could be doing this so that other people could do it, so that other people could do it. You know, I was talking to 3 different groups in India last week. And it was, you know, how in the world could I have ever imagined being 102 and being able to sit there and talk to a person who is putting the whole concept out to his whole community, which is millions of, I mean, it's not just hundreds. There are millions of people around who are listening to each other in ways that I didn't even have a telephone when I was a kid.
Right.
And it's this stretch of my imagination beyond anything that I could ever have comprehended. And yet here it is, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so real that I can talk to you and you can talk to and spread it, and you know, it just goes on and on.
Well, and what a beautiful full circle moment for you to be able to reach India.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
And my nephew,
Mm-hmm.
you know, some of my relatives in India actually heard the podcast or whatever it was that they were listening to, and it was there. So I was talking to my nephew in India. It's just, you know, how can it get more exciting than that?
Yeah, I don't even know. And so that was the other thing that I was commenting on for you, having just had 2 infusions of stem cells, and just what a beautiful environment you have created in your body for these stem cells to be exploding and recreating, because you are full of joy and love and laughter and all of those things. And it's so amazing. And so that's just a beautiful concept for all of us, that it just allows our expansion to happen in a beautiful way when we are feeling that juice of life.
And then come along Katie and talks about it so that someone else can feel it and enjoy it and can talk to someone else. You know, that's the movement that we're talking about, of life and love.
Well,
and
this goes back to feifesting, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And for anybody who has not been with us for any length of time, would you just explain feifesting to your audience, please?
Yes. I have a friend who is a psychic in Virginia Beach, and I was talking to her one time about, we were talking about trying to manifest something. And Rosalie said, well, you know, I've been thinking that for years we've talked about manifesting, but there's another word that I think is better, says something too, and that's feifesting. And I just latched on to that because she's absolutely right. We have been doing the feifestation of the universe in ways that keep life going. Think about a pregnancy. During the pregnancy, the whole process is manifesting. But when that baby takes its first breath, it's feifesting. When it takes that first breath, it's manifesting. Mm-hmm. But that one can't function without the other. And so our dual humanity, the masculine, feminine aspect of ourselves, the right and the left hand, this aspect of ourselves that is now there, has always been there, and we've been fighting it all our for eons, trying to hide the feminine. And we went through the COVID thing, and I think it's hysterical that that men particularly got upset because the only thing that they could see was eyes. And women throughout the eons of time have been covered up until their eyes. You know, the only thing that
I see. I was like, what do you mean the men could only see their eyes? Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So the women in their burqas
right.
and just not being allowed, well, all the covering up our feifestation in ways that are really pretty funny when you look at it. And so when Rosalie starts talking about feifestation, I latched on to that. I think it's a wonderful word. I think it needs to be in the dictionary.
Yes, and I love the idea of what you were teaching me and mentioned before is just the spiral nature of ascension is what feifesting is all about, as opposed to a linear line, which is manifestation.
Yeah, the manifestation is the Jacob's ladder.
Oh, okay.
You take one step into, but feifestation, you can be on the spiral up on the 5th level, and you know what's going on at the 2nd level. It's that ability that is manifesting feifestation so that we can make it happen.
Well, and it also feels that idea of the spiral, which is, seen all through all cultures,
right,
and nature for that matter. The Fibonacci sequence of the spiral that is found in nature is just so much more fluid when you're talking about movement and motion, and that's what keeps us going. Like that spiral in nature is so fluid and so movement oriented.
Yeah.
I love it.
And when we begin to recognize these things that are all around us and part of us, then it gets really exciting.
So, what do you have on your schedule this week as far as interviews go? Do you know?
Yeah,
just show up every day and they tell you who you're talking to.
Yeah, I've got another one in London. I think today. Is that today? I don't know. I better find out pretty soon. But and then there's all week long there's something going on.
It's so great. It's just so great.
It's awesome.
I feel like what they've, just the reviews of your book have been amazing, and just the response from people has just been so beautiful.
Because the world's hungry for it. People are scared and hurting, and they need something that they could really understand within their own being, that they can do something about.
Well, and I know I keep coming back to this, but I also think that there's something about the messenger. I know the message is beautiful and profound, and it's what we all are craving, but there is also something about the light within you that is such a beautiful messenger, and you do it with such humility and laughter and love that it is just makes it so much easier to take the message in and allow it to just wash over you,
And,
as opposed to, putting up a, oh, not for me.
and I'm so grateful, just the whole process of dwelling in gratitude
Mm,
just helps so much because it allows us to take the things that are there and say, wow, you know, just really look at that. And life is a wow. It's
yeah,
exciting and funny and hurting, and
right.
something that sucks and it's not good. All of a sudden it's back again. And, so let's hang in there and do our thing.
Yeah. Well, you are a guiding light of that. So thank you. And I think we should wrap it up here. But I just want to end with, just putting out that message of, like, it's not like nobody's heard that before, where you say, go find something to be grateful for. But truly, we all need reminders every single day
Yeah.
to find something to be grateful for. And if it's just that you have clean water to drink, that is a huge gift, to be able to have fresh, clean water right there. So
And the sun comes up every day.
that's right. Whether we see it or not, it's still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you catch the full moon this weekend? She was a beauty.
Oh,
Oh, so beautiful. So beautiful.
yeah.
Well, I thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you all for being here. And
And we'll see next week. We don't know this week what's going to be next week, but we'll know.
yes, so we'll just play it by ear, and if we can be on, then we'll be on. John is our secretary of scheduling, so we will check in and see what's coming next week.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you
Oh,
so much. I love you. I am in gratitude of you. And
me of you.
yeah. All right. Thanks everybody for being here.
Love you.
Love you too. And get wherever John is. He's the one that has to end the video.